Today I am going to be showing you decluttering for December of 2025. So my purpose initially in starting this channel was to get my collection under control and shrink it down a little bit and just keep the decks that I really love. So I've gone through and I've got a baker's dozen of decks that are going to be leaving my collection here for the month of December. Let's go through them and take a look. So we'll start out, I've got these inner child cards, and I've got both the set and the workbook that I'll be getting rid of. In a lot of cases, I have books for the cards where the cards might still be in print and the book has been out of print forever and is actually worth more than the cards, so that's kind of funny. In this case, both of these are in print, so that is not the issue. So the inner child cards, Isha and Mark Lerner, and they are professional astrologers. I've had this deck since the 90s. Actually, I think probably that's the case for most of these 90s or early 2000s. But this one definitely. So we'll just kind of take a look at all of these guys, because that's kind of my purpose here. As I move things along, I want to kind of document what I had, because the document takes up a whole lot less space. This deck, my friend was really into inner child work, and so she was the one that kind of brought this into our project. I don't know if it's my autism or what, but inner child work has not been a major thing for me personally. Let's make sure what's going on with the inside of this. I think I'm doing this backwards. Here we go. So I just kind of have these being held tightly because the boxes that they had back in the 90s really kind of sucked, sadly. But this is really vibrantly colored. It's a very kind of Waldorf school kind of vibe, I guess you would say. And we'll just kind of go through. I think these are in order, but all the fairy tales. Nowadays, there are a whole ton of fairy tale decks, just a crazy number. So we've got the magic wands and the winged hearts, or the cups, and these, I don't remember what kind of swords, and the earth crystals, and they get into a very Christmassy vibe, some of them. For instance, we have Father Christmas is the king equivalent. The court cards on these: child, seeker, guardian, and guide. So this is just, it's very nice deck, but it's just not really me, and I don't see this friend anymore, sadly. So I'm going to be releasing this to someone who is in need of one of the original fairy tale decks. So the next deck is the Wheel of Change Tarot. This deck is from 1997 by Alexandra Minetti. It was published by Destiny Books, Inner Traditions, and I believe that she now is publishing it herself. Yeah, she's republished the card deck in its own box, and the book has been released separately, both as an ebook and as a print-on-demand version. So this is the 1997 version. So this was one of the original 12,000. And I mean, boxes are so much nicer today than they were back then. So this is, you know, unfortunate cardboard. The book is a monster. It's huge. And really in depth. This is pages per card. Just, there is so much going on with this tarot, and it is definitely not a Rider-Waite-Smith clone by any means. We have this Thoth type court structure, prince and princess, knight and queen. So queen is on top. We don't make a big deal about the elements behind this, so this is probably a deck I would consider in my woman, mother, goddess category. Let's take a look at the cards here. I really tried to love this deck, and there are a lot of things that are really lovable about it, but in the end, I finally just don't connect, you know? I tried, and it is not one that I have found, but the ideas in here are sometimes just so clever. And again, this is one of the earlier, I think at this time you also had like Pomo Tarot. It's another one that went very modern. But, oh, I got a few that are turned around this way, or maybe half. Wheel of Fortune. But yeah, somebody is going to really love this, and I wish them very well. Very good. The William Blake Tarot. Again, I have the original box, and it's the same lovely cardboard scenario. This deck as well has been republished. So this is the William Blake Tarot of the Creative Imagination by Ed Buren. And if you don't know, Ed Buren is the husband of Mary Greer, you know, Queen Mother of Tarot, I suppose you could say, in these days. So this is highly valuable. At the time that I got it, I went very in-depth, wrote a review back in the days when we would write things instead of filming them. And, you know, in the end, I'm glad I did all of that work, but in the intervening time, I have not really used this. This is William Blake's work itself. And so likely images from his work have been chosen to illustrate the cards, and things are kind of renamed. So that is also an issue. If you are not planning to study, you're pretty much a Rider-Waite-Smith in your wheelhouse kind of reader, this may be challenging for you to just pick up and read with. So we have suits, we have paintings, we have science, so instead of swords. And on our courts, we have the child, the angel, the woman, and the man. We have music instead of wands. And at least we do have some clue in the borders as to what we're looking at. And then we have the suit of poetry, which this may be the only deck that has a suit of poetry. I'm not certain. Also, I have Ed Burin's book. For the William Blake, we'll just kind of take a look. And this was actually signed. But you can see it's quite in depth if you have any interest in Blake. This is one that I will personally be listing and passing along to another person. Look here at Robin Wood, and this one I do have the book, so I will be selling the book with the deck. I believe both are still available these days, and this is a deck. Not all of them are probably YouTube appropriate. So this was written and the art done by Robin Wood, and this was published in 1991. And this is this has the attempt to be more pagan. So like if all the cards were like this magician, oh my goodness, I might be having a hard time passing it on, but there are some that I love less than that. Like the Lovers. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of some of the faces. And you know, the Wheel of Fortune, the emotions, that concept just didn't really hit for me. But like, that's very beautiful. I like that. One of the things that, yeah, that's very cosmic. The quartz are very cool on time of day. So this is very committed to that concept. Wands are midday. Cups are twilight. These are particularly beautiful. Like, I think I held on to this because I loved these court cards, the backgrounds as much as anything, the backgrounds and the gowns, as long as I did. But you know, I have a lot of brighter weight kind of substitute decks. Gorgeous. And this is just not the one that I reach for. So I will be making this available. Here we are in the middle of the night. So there's the Robin Wood. And then we have Norbert Waschi. Not sure if that's the correct pronunciation, but this is the Cosmic Tarot. And this is from 1988. At the time when I was active before, some people called this the movie star deck. We're getting far enough away from when these people were movie stars that I'm not sure that the modern day kids would know who Rudolph Valentino was and so forth. Like, I think maybe the artist was learning how to do faces from looking at movie posters, but it is very, very dramatic, dancey even, theatrical, I guess, maybe is the correct. And I do have actually 2 books that I will be sending along with this by 2 different authors. And that is the Cosmic Tarot. So the next deck is Scylla Conway, the Intuitive Tarot. This is a very early deck. This was published in 2004 by St. Martin's Press. And of course, she has reissued this on her site. So you can actually buy this directly from the artist. But this is the original 2004 deck that I have. And somewhere in time I have lost the box. So I will be sending it along with this little bag, which had its origin of Llewellyn used to have just these generic white boxes that didn't even fit the cards. And then they'd also send you this little organza bag. And they have definitely improved their card presentation game since I have come back to tarot. So that's kind of cool. But anyhow, so there is the book for that. Take a look at these cards. These are very different than I don't have, but I've seen flip throughs of like the Shimmering Veil deck. This is very different, and it is attractive. But again, I do not find myself reaching for this. And so I am going to be releasing this because I am sure there is a Siliconway fan out there who will find this to be a really nice deck to acquire. So there's the Intuitive Tarot. All right. And this one is a misfire. I never loved this deck. And this is the kind of, like when you're decluttering, where you hold on to things because you're sad that you got them, which is completely insane. But it is one of those things that I have had to struggle with as I've been working on other parts of my house before digging into breaking up an old collection. So this deck, you look at this and you're like, oh, I wonder what's written on here, you know, and it looks very, I don't know, magazine art almost. But as you get in here, for some reason, the art on these is full, and I'm not actually running into it as I go through here. But it's full of like disembodied breasts, and it's just, it is not me. It's not me. I believe that this is another deck that is still available from its creator. I haven't gone looking at that site, you know, super recently, but yeah, this just kind of reminds me of kind of almost magazine art of the era, you know. And there's a disembodied breast. Why? You know, no. It's not for me. So I'm going to forgive myself for making a mistake and getting something that I never actually enjoyed, and let this find another home. So there goes that deck. All right, the next one is the Osho Zen. Now, there was a time when I just used the crap out of this deck. And again, I've lost the box. Gosh only knows. So I will be sending its bag along with it. But this is very, you know, Mondo 2000 more kind of art than it is Playboy or whatever. But now I'm not called to this deck. I think this is a deck that was for me at a time, and that time has passed. And it is fine to just let go. So this will be a great deck for somebody who is at the place that I was when I loved this deck. And so I send it on with good wishes. All right. We are getting there. The next one, and the last one that has a book with it, is the Tarot of Love. It looks like, actually, that the box on this deck may have gotten some love from my son when he was in that preschooler age where you scribble on everything. So he got a red pin and decorated this box. So there's an additional touch for whoever gets this next. Now I think this deck is this deck is almost certainly out of print now. Yeah, this is one where the book is worth more than the deck. So that's kind of fun. It's even more rare. This is a nice deck in that it is very gentle, but it's also kind of a young love kind of vibe. And there was a time, you know, back when I was working with that friend in the 90s, that I just really vibed with these images. But this is another one like the Osho Zen that it's like, well, that was then, and I don't see myself doing this now. Got different suits. We got blossoms, lightnings. But yeah, nice kind of pastel vibe. It's got kind of scenic pips, but they're not, you know, the scenes that you've always seen. So yeah, Tarot of Love. A little bit of a rare deck nowadays, I would say. Okay. Okay, then we have the Fradella Adventure Tarot. This is a comic book. 2002 is when this deck was published. And you can see I've not used this deck. I doubt if this has even been shuffled. I'm not exactly sure why I got it, but this is absolutely a superhero deck. I don't think it is still in print. It is not in print at this time. So I think this was an early web comic, perhaps. that this was referring to. Yeah, this has been used so little that the cards are sticking to each other. Nice little UFO. I sorted this by number. Discs, as in CDs. Oh, such sexy technology. I guess the kids are getting back into that retro tech now. But yeah, hewing pretty closely to Rider-Waite-Smith, but with superheroes. So this is a pretty clever deck. I've got a big enough collection that I just don't think I'm going to hold on to this. It has not asked to come out yet. So somebody is going to really find this an amusing deck. And I wish them very well. Yeah, Fradella Adventure Tarot. Kind of a fun vintage deck there. All right, I'm not actually going to crack this because it's still sealed, but this is another one that is going to be going away, the Gothic Tarot of Vampires, Lo Scarabeo deck. And then somehow, as I was going through my boxes, I have 2 copies of this deck. I don't know why, but this is the Leonardo da Vinci Tarot. This is surprisingly very nude. Like I was thinking, oh, do I have a good PG deck? This might be a good PG deck, but it's not throughout. But it is, of course, classical art, so yeah, so now we get into... No, it is not. But this is... This has got scenic enough pips. Very clever take on the subject. So there's the Da Vinci Tarot. And then we have the Secret Tarot by Marco Nizzoli. And I have another of his decks, and I'm actually going to do the 2 together with the Tarot of the Dream Enchantress. And at this point, I'm going to hold on to that other deck. This deck right here. So I'm not getting rid of that one. But this one I am going to get rid of. I just don't feel this one. And it's not a theme that is compelling enough for me to want to hold on to this at this point. But I did use this for a while. It just, I have others now. So that's the Secret Tarot. And then the last in December is this Oracle, the Universal Love Oracle, Urania by Toni, Carmine, Salerno. This is a Reiki Oracle book. And I don't really feel called to this one. But this is, I'm sure, going to be great for somebody. So I'm going to pass it along so that someone else can enjoy this. Some of the art is very pretty, a lot of unnecessary nudity. So there is the Universal Love Oracle. So that's the last of the decks for December 2025. If you've stuck with me so far, thank you so much, and we'll see you at the next video.